It's going to record. Welcome, everyone. Ooh, so many people already joining the party. I can't wait. This is going to be great. So as you're getting in here, I'm going to make the chat active. And I want to hear from you, just who you are, what organization you're with, and also where you're from. So I'm here in Queens. Janet, how about you? Where are you from?
I'm in Chicago, getting nice and cold.
Amazing. So yeah, this is active. Everyone can paste in the chat. We got Carly here from Memory Fox. Welcome. That's
Yay.
great. Stephanie from Bend. Oh, I wonder if you remember Reagan. He's in Bend. Although not everyone, every place knows everyone there. Wow, we have people all over.
Yeah, wow, they're coming in quick.
New York City, San Diego, Nebraska. Amazing. So everyone's getting settled in here. This is going to be really amazing. I want to share my screen for just a second. And Janet, I'm going to turn it right over to you. But I just wanted to welcome everyone to our webinar today in partnership with Bonterra called Last Minute, but Not Too Late, Giving Tuesday Year-End Tips. And so it's last minute, but you're here to get all the tips that you need to really maximize giving this Giving Tuesday. So we have Janet Cobb, who is a personal fundraising coach with Bonterra team here, and I'm excited to get us started. For those of you who may not know about Community Boost is a digital marketing agency that exists to empower nonprofits and causes through high impact digital marketing so you can change the world. So we work with organizations of all shapes and sizes, Souls for Souls, Equal Justice Initiative, Habitat for Humanities are just a few of them. This year we've served about 500 nonprofits directly through our agency services, as well as our accelerator program. And we also host the Nonprofit Marketing Summit. So this past year, we've been able to impact 50,000 nonprofits at the Nonprofit Marketing Summit, which is incredible. And in case you haven't saved your spot yet, we just launched the Nonprofit Marketing Summit, The Unthinkable. We want to help you make unimaginable impact a reality at your organization. And so if you'd like to save your seat right now, you absolutely can. You can either scan the QR code or just go to nonprofitmarketingsummit.org to save your seat and join us on this unthinkable adventure. So excited to have you hopefully there with us. So all virtual, all free again. So if you've joined Nonprofit Marketing Summit in the past, you're in for a treat. So I won't take up too much of your time. I am just so excited to have Janet here, who's a personal fundraising coach at Bonterra. Janet has worked in the nonprofit arena for her entire career. She's a CFRE and certified nonprofit professional. Janet specializes in working with small to mid-sized nonprofit organizations across the country to help them build capacity and acquire the skills needed to support and expand their efforts. So Janet has held a wide variety of positions, including communications manager, director of development, and executive director, and handled budgets from 50,000 to 8 million and probably more. So she integrates her skills in education, nonprofit management, and fundraising to offer innovative solutions to align money and mission. Through the course of her 30-plus year career, Janet has worked with more than 650 nonprofits and participated in or facilitated numerous and varied initiatives. And Janet Cobb brings vision to current reality and reality to big, bold visions as she assists organizations in their efforts to do good. So, Janet, I'm so thankful to have you here. I'll stop sharing my screen and I will let you take it away.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Welcome. And I think it's really important to remember this 650 nonprofits. I mention that because, or I like to mention that because I bring the experience and the wisdom from all of those folks into every room that I speak in. So I hope that today you will all walk away with something that is helpful and that you can put into practice right away. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. We all know that the big day, Giving Tuesday, is next week. And so some of you might be, really in a panic. Oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? But we will figure some things out and then move on to, Giving Tuesday. If it doesn't come in next Tuesday, that's not the end of the world, right? We have year-end fundraising, which is also important, and then of course ongoing, relationship building and things like that. But today we're going to dig into last minute but not too late, Giving Tuesday to year end. I was a high school teacher for quite a while, and so I am used to being interrupted, also parent of 3, so used to being interrupted. So if you have a question, you can certainly put it in the Q&A or in the chat. Candace will be monitoring that. Feel free, if you can, to unmute. I don't know if you all are muted or what, but if you can speak up, please do. Or raise your hand, any of those features to get my attention, then I will notice more than if it's in the chat, but Candace will be monitoring that for us. Okay, so here we go. Let's get started. You don't need to see that. Okay, so first we're going to talk about what to do right now, and then talk about how to plan a successful campaign if you have a little bit more time. So maybe that's moving into year end a little bit. Talking about strategy and timeline, and then how to really implement that, and then the importance of the follow-up so that we're not recreating the wheel every year. Okay, so what can you be doing right now? If you want to fundraise for Giving Tuesday, the first thing you want to do, what you want to start thinking about if you haven't already made some plans, is you want to think about your budget or your programs or something that you could use some money for, right? And this doesn't, if you start talking about these things on Giving Tuesday, you might feel like it becomes a restricted gift, but really it all depends on how we talk about it. We've got to identify something that people can relate to, that they want to raise money around, right? Something tangible that is doable in a day is a really great way to focus on Giving Tuesday. So it may be something that's already in your budget, but hey, if you get a bunch of money for it, you can use that money that's, in your budget for something else. Okay, so that's one thing you can think about. We need a new refrigerator. Let's raise money. We need a new fan. Those are big ticket items, so that might not be what you're looking at, right? But something that relates directly to services and would have an impact on the people or the animals or the environment that is being served, right? So that's one thing. Have a manageable fundraising goal with a real purpose, not just a number, not just a number. What does that number do? You also want to call 3 of your top donors from last year, 3 or 4, maybe 5 of your top donors from last year, to ask them to offer a matching gift. Now, it is a little late right now, but it doesn't take anything to offer a matching gift. It doesn't mean they have to give you the money right away, even. So you can call someone who you know is a faithful supporter, ask them to give you a matching gift. Because if you can raise 2,000, will they give you 2,000? Or if you can raise 2,000, will they give you 1,000 and you'll find someone else to give you 1,000? Matching gifts are very impactful. So that's something you could still do in this last week. You can ask 20 people to each contact 5 people to ask for a $5 or $10 or small gift, and to share your social media posts. The whole idea around Giving Tuesday is that it's a social event. It's about radical generosity. It's about collective generosity. It's about democratizing philanthropy to show that you don't have to be wealthy to make a world of difference, right? That many people together can do, everyone doing a little thing has a huge impact, right? So find 20 people to help be your ambassadors. One thing that you want to make sure you do if you're asking people to be your ambassador and to help you either share on social media or fundraise is to remind them that their success in doing this is not dependent on the end result of fundraising. It is the very act of them doing it is a success already, right? We cannot control the outcome of what other people are doing because of what we do. We can only control what we do. So if you ask 20 people to do this and only 5 of them do that, you still did this successfully. You asked the 20 people. We can only control what we do. Okay? So as soon as we get off this webinar, you go and you call, you make your list of 20 people and you call them or you email them or you text them and say, hey, will you do this for me? Okay. Ask a group of volunteers to be available to make thank you phone calls as gifts come in. This has an incredible impact in the long run. It even has an incredible impact on the day of, on the fundraising efforts. If you can have people as gifts come in, making phone calls to thank people, surprisingly, some of those people, when you send out, you know, an update on how close you are to your fundraising goal, a lot of the people who you've already thanked are going to make another gift because they want you to be successful because you've thanked them for what they did and they already feel good. Okay, so if you can make that happen, works wonders. Prepare 6 emails. You want 1 email to go out this week. You want 1 email to go out the day before. You want 3 emails to go out the day of, and you want 1 email to go out the day after, right? So they don't all have to be brand new content. They can be repetitive, right? It's okay. You don't even have to focus too fully on Giving Tuesday. You can mention it. It's a day of global generosity and collective generosity. But more importantly, focus on your impact. What happens if you raise this money on this day, right? And get those out, right? It doesn't hurt. It won't hurt anything to do it, even if because you feel a little behind the 8 ball, it may not be that successful. And then if you can, plan to go live on social media through whatever format you use throughout the day to talk to people, not just say, hey, it's Giving Tuesday, but hey, this is the work being done. This is the difference you can make, right? I think Giving Tuesday is a great opportunity for you to invite people and remind people that every dollar matters, that every gift makes a difference. Giving Tuesday, because someone named it Giving Tuesday, is not a reason to give. I'm going to say that again. Because someone called the Tuesday after Thanksgiving Giving Tuesday, it is not a reason that is motivating people to give. Okay? What you do, the impact you make, the difference in the lives that are being served, the difference in the environment, the difference, whatever the difference is being made, the outcome of your work is the motivating factor for people to give. The fact that it is Giving Tuesday is somewhat irrelevant. It's important to be present because people will be looking, people will be hearing, but you gotta be sharing about the work being done or you're going to lose a lot of the effectiveness of your efforts. Okay, so that's a big dump, but it's not too late. There's still time. So these are some things you can still do right now, today, when we get off this webinar. Or don't focus on money at all. Don't have a monetary goal. You might say, we want new monthly donors. And if you're looking for a number of new monthly donors as your goal, don't make it too high. If you don't have any monthly donors, if you haven't been talking about monthly donors, you could make your whole Giving Tuesday about getting 3 monthly donors, right? Because if you can get 3 monthly donors, the lifetime of that person's giving is going to make a world of difference. It's going to launch your monthly giving program, right? There's all kinds of wonderful things can happen when you start focusing on monthly gifts. Or create an Amazon or a website wish list for program-related products, right? People like gift registries, right? So why not give them an opportunity while they're doing all their shopping, while they're doing all the things, to go to your website and give a gift to whatever your program needs, okay? If you don't do anything else for Giving Tuesday, that could be a very effective thing. Or you can not plan to ask for any money at all and make it a day where you're recognizing people's previous generosity, showing gratitude to donors. Have, every hour on the hour, you hop on Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media platform you use and just thank people for being part of your community, right? That does wonders. I even had an organization once that on Giving Tuesday promoted all sorts of other organizations in their area because they knew that those other organizations needed the money more. Now, did they get some gifts? Yes, they did, but that was not their focus at all. They wanted to be generous. They wanted to give on that Tuesday, right? And then, of course, you can, plan a social media strategy of, something related to your organization with one of those photo frames, right? Ask people to, I am ABC org because, and then just give them a one-line frame sentence pattern that you want everyone to repeat, or ask people to do, 30 seconds of why they love you, or 30 seconds on the difference that your organization made in their life, right? Those sorts of things can go a long way on Giving Tuesday, even if they don't bring in any significant revenue. Okay, so those were my absolute, you can do these right away. Now we're going to slow down for a minute and talk about, the general things, right? When you go social, which is what Giving Tuesday is all about, it's designed, it was rooted in social media, right? Don't wait until Giving Tuesday. Drop some hints now if you haven't already, that it is coming up, that next week's a big week, that sort of thing. Use the logos, use the hashtags, use all the things, create the social media posts. You can have them, you can create them and have them all ready to go. You don't have to be doing it as is, right? As you go along, as the clock ticks. Do what you can to create a consistent look and feel of whatever you're doing, right? The hashtag, the photo, there needs to be some sort of a branding element. It doesn't have to be your logo, and it doesn't have to be the Giving Tuesday logo. It has to be something that ties in everything that you're doing from Giving Tuesday to year end. If you're doing both, if you're doing a Giving Tuesday campaign and a year-end campaign and they're connected in any way, make sure the thread runs through. If you're doing a Giving Tuesday campaign that is absolutely, totally different and apart from what you're looking to do for year-end, then that's not as necessary, right? You can really, focus on the Giving Tuesday logos and the, images that they let people use, right? And hammer that home for the one day. But then for year end, you want to make sure you start really driving through certain elements that people don't even have to read it anymore. They just see it and know what it's talking about. Okay. And make sure that as you do all of this, you are centering stories about your supporters and your beneficiaries and the good work that is happening. Because again, it's all about the difference that I can make with my gift, not your arbitrary monetary goal. It's not the fact that it's Giving Tuesday, right? I want to make a difference. I want to be a good person. I want to see myself as a good person. I want to see myself as contributing. I want to see myself as generous. So you want to send messages that help everyone who sees your posts believe that about themselves. Okay. So I feel like I dashed through that because I really wanted you to walk away with really doable action steps like right now. But if we can take a little breath and we can think about now to year end, then we want to do a little bit more behind the scenes to try and optimize what we're doing. Okay. So what you could be doing right now for your year-end campaign. Oops, excuse me. I'm trying to drag my picture out of the way. Oh my goodness. I am so sorry. I'm trying to drag my picture because anyway. What we want to be doing is thinking about Giving Tuesday as launch of the giving season. So you have 7-ish weeks before December 31st. And just like Giving Tuesday is not a motivator for most people to give, the fact that it's calendar year end December 31st is also not necessarily a motivating factor for most people to give. Now, I say that being a person who on December 31st, one of my rituals is to sit down and make 3 small gifts to nonprofits that I'm thinking about that day, right? But really, December 31st is not why people give. Okay. So you want to make sure that what you're doing between now and then is building up a real momentum around how important the work is. Okay. So you establish your goal, you set your calendar. How many times are you going to communicate between now and December 31st? What is your target mailing list, right? If you are sending one communication, whether you send 10 communications or just 2 between now and then, if those communications are the same for everyone, then you're really not communicating with anyone, right? So you want to begin thinking about your targeted segmented lists, right? Your donors and your non-donors should not be getting the same exact content from you. It can be 95% identical, but there needs to be a little bit of a different tone. There needs to be a few things that are different because donors should be approached from an appreciative tone. We are all in this together. We are making this happen. This is a great thing that we're doing together. If you do that for non-donors, you will not get as much response because you're already helping them or making them feel good about being part of this when they haven't yet given to you, right? So at the very least, we want 2 basic communications. Now, there are all sorts of other segmentations you can do. And if you have that capacity, that would be great, right? Someone who can give at 500 to $2,500 should not necessarily be receiving the same communication as someone who gives, $5, $10, $25, right? Because you can be talking about the impact of the gift at a very much different level, right? And anyone who's at the top 10 or 20% of your database who are giving at a really, really high level for your organization, you want them to be getting more personalized, personable, customized solicitations than you're sending to sort of the mass market approach. Okay. So really targeting your lists can be very important. And here, when you get this, you'll get this PowerPoint at the end. Candace will send it. Mailing list, of course, includes email, right? You want that theme that I talked about. What's running through for you? What phrase or photo or color patterns are you going to use that to evoke a particular feeling and action for everyone who sees this campaign, whether the campaign is on your website, social media, their email, their phone, their snail mail inbox, right? It's got to look similar so that they just get it right away. And when they see one piece and they see another piece, it reminds them of the other one, right? It's all of that sort of osmosis, right? You want to feel like, you want them feeling like they're hearing from you everywhere and they're seeing you everywhere. But because your messaging is so strong, it's a good thing, not a bad thing. Okay. I mentioned the soliciting donors for a matching gift and leveraging your stakeholders, and do your best to collect stories and testimonials of people who have been impacted by your work, people who work in your work, right? So staff and volunteers, board members, community partners. Let people tell the story of how important your organization and the work that you do is for them. And if you can, at some point between now and year end, ask questions on social media, invite people to take actions that have nothing to do with fundraising. Ask them to share a story. So if you're in education, ask them, what was their favorite holiday tradition at school, or, who was their favorite teacher. If you are in the arts, try and get them to bring up memories of their arts experiences. If you are working in food in any way, shape, or form, invite recipe sharing, right? It doesn't always have to be about asking for money or telling about programs. It's things that are tangentially related that are going to connect people emotionally. You want some of that happening too. You're trying to create a community. You're not using a megaphone to yell instructions at people, right? It's not a monologue. It's a conversation. It's a dialogue. It's a triad, 3 people, it's a conversation. Okay. All right. So how do you analyze and set goals? What you want to do is you want to think data-driven rather than deficit-driven. Okay. So should you set a goal of $2,500 because that's what you need as an organization to make budget, or 25,000 wherever you are in your organizational journey, right? If your goal is 25,000 or 2,500 because that's what your budget says it is, that is a deficit-driven approach, right? That's a deficit-driven goal. But if you are data-driven, that means you look at what you did last year, you do some calculations based on your retention rate, right? If you had 10 people, just for sake of ease of numbers, if you had 10 people give you a first-time gift last year, the likelihood that those 10 people are going to give a second gift this year is 2. right? 2 of those 10 people will give you a second gift if they gave a first gift last year. If they've already given you 2 gifts and 10 people who last year was their second or third gift, 6 of those people are likely to give a gift again this year, right? So you can't, unless you're doing something drastically different, you can't expect 100% retention rate. Okay. So you want to base your numbers on what you did last year, not what your budget says it's supposed to be because a board member or a finance person decided that's what you needed to fill the gap between your other revenue streams and your expenses. Okay. You also want to think about general operating versus program budget. If you are talking about a program or, sharing the story of a person who benefited from a particular program and and you're using that to raise money, that doesn't mean that you are automatically restricting all gifts that come into that program. You can use it as an example and say, in your donation today could feed a family of 4 and support the various mission programs of our mission or of ABC org, right? So you can get general operating expenses, revenue, while you're talking about program budgets. Or you're never talking about budgets and fundraising, don't get me wrong. You're talking about programs, but you could identify a number based on a program budget and still be raising money for general operating expenses. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please, let me know, chime in. Okay. You also want to remember that 80% of your funding comes from major donors, the 20% of major donors, right? So your top 20% of your dollars comes from, the top 20% of your donors give 80% of your budget. And the bottom 80% of your donors gives the bottom 20% of your budget. That's a very typical way that it lays out in reality. Some people are saying that shifting even to 90-10. So if you have some big major donors, while you don't want to rely too heavily on them and make them, the be all and end all, you want to diversify your revenue as much as possible. Still, you want to realize that major donors do have a bigger impact. And so you want to make sure that you are talking to them and building that relationship so that they can not only continue to give, but perhaps continue to give at a higher level. You also, when you're thinking about your data, besides major donor and non-major donor, you want to be thinking about active versus lapsed, right? Anyone who has given within the last 365 days is considered an active donor. Some people say 2 years is considered an active donor versus everybody else. Active donors are more likely to give again than non-active donors, right? The deeply lapsed, those who are lapsed more than 3 years, do you ignore them completely? Not if you have a budget to reach out to them. Be sure to do that. Email, once you're paying for an email system, you may as well send some lapsed donor emails, right? But you want to give your attention and your capacity, your limited resources, to that which will prove to be more effective, right? So you want to make sure that you're basing your fundraising goals on your active recent donors instead of all the other ones, right? Then you want to think major donor, mid-level donor, consistent donor, general donor, monthly donor. Mid-level donors are those who fly under the radar of major gifts, but are above the real minor $10, $20 donors, right? And they're often the ones that get overlooked. A lot of them are consistent donors. right? And if you look at consistency, you're talking about people who have been very loyal to you. And so there needs to be given a lot of attention, right? Because you hear the stories all the time, you know, quiet janitor, librarian, you know, volunteer who quietly did her work every week. You know, they die and leave $20 million to the organization, right? They never gave more than 20 a year, but they leave, 20 million. Those sorts of things happen because there are people who love you and are loyal to you, but don't often get the attention they deserve, for lack of a better word, because they're not major donors. So really look at those different segments as you're setting your goals. Instead of setting one big fundraising goal, set a major donor goal, a mid-level donor and consistent donor goal, and a general donor goal and a monthly donor goal, because you're doing different things to attract those different people and to cultivate those different groups of people. Okay. Then you're going to confirm your fundraising goals, against that audience, those audiences. You're going to potentially have a separate sub goal for Giving Tuesday in your overall year-end funding. And then if you can secure matching gifts, you're definitely going to have a matching gift goal, right? And your overall goal can be greater than a matching gift goal. If you think you have the capacity to raise above that. But if you're thinking small and then you get the possibility of a matching gift, don't be afraid to stretch yourself either, because people do respond to matching gifts. And why? I don't know why, but I do know that more people give than if there is not a match, and gifts, the dollar amount of gifts goes up. Okay. So it is well worth trying to secure that. I think I skipped a slide. Okay. Yeah. We talked about all of that. Okay. You want to make sure you're using all the channels, right? Don't be afraid because someone heard from you in one place, they shouldn't hear from you in another. And if you have not recently gone through your database to find out for whom you do not have a valid, usable email, then make sure you are sending snail mail out to those folks, because otherwise they're not hearing from you. Okay. This is a sample communications plan, and I'm not going to read through it. You can get this when you see the slide deck. But again, it's all about omni-channel. As many different ways as you can engage, the better. And then implementing your strategy, what you want to fundamentally remember. If you walk away with nothing else today, remember that most donors are not giving to your organization. They are giving through your organization to a cause they care about. Okay. I am passionate about a thing. I know that organization does that thing. So I'm going to give to them so that thing gets done. Okay. My money is hiring the organization to do the good. So the more you can connect the donor with the good being done, you as an organization need to recede to the background, right? You melt into the background. You are simply the conduit through which the good happens, right? So do your best to connect the potential donor with the cause that's important to them. Tax deductibility, there's lots of reasons why you don't want to be using tax deductibility language in your letter writing, in your social media posts. You do not know anyone's tax deductible status. You don't know their itemization process. You don't know any of that. So you don't want to promise something that may not be true. And according to studies that are done all over the place, very few people are motivated, especially if they're lower end donors, are they motivated by tax deductions? With the 2017 tax laws, most people don't itemize. It means nothing to them. You're just kind of wasting space, use that space to communicate impact instead. Okay. Again, because it's calendar year end is not a motivator. You want to be communicating in personal, conversational, sensitive, appropriate ways. Okay. Use I. If one person is signing this letter, say I, not we, right? The we is meant for me as the writer and the prospective donor together, we as a society, we as a group, but you don't want to use the royal we for the organization, right? That's not how conversations happen, right? You want to be honest and vulnerable. You want to be authentic. You want to just tell the reader how you feel and what you hope and what the reality is, right? You write to them like you're writing to your college roommate, best friend, buddy who you haven't seen in a while because they moved across the country, and tell them what's going on in the cause that you care about, the cause you're working in. Use contractions and incomplete sentences, right? Because that's how people talk. We don't need the business formal, all of that. You need to show an unfinished story of need. There's got to be some need, because if not, you don't need my money. If everything's good, you don't need my money. So you always want to be showing the need and offering hope, offering solution, right? Because as the donor, then I know that if I contribute, I'm helping make the solution come true. But if all you do in your appeals is talk about the successes, you're missing the boat, because that makes me feel good that all of these good things are happening, but even unconsciously, you don't need my money. So even if I write you a $20 check, if you had done it in a way that made me realize how important the money is, and beyond just every dollar counts, right? But really showing me, then I could have written you possibly a $2,000 check, right? So you want to make sure that you are using your communications between your asks, and you can do some of these between now and year end. Not every single communication between now and year end should be an outright ask. Some of them can be success stories. Some of them can be real feel-good stories, so that then a week later, when they get the ask saying there's still need, there are still, the climate is still in crisis, people are still homeless, people are still hungry. The arts need to continue to exist. We bring beauty to the world, right? The need has to be there in the moment of the appeal, in the call to action. Okay. You want what we call the singularity effect, right? If you tell me 11 million children go to bed hungry every night, I cannot help 11 million children. But if you tell me 1 in 5 go to bed hungry every night, and my donation today will help one of them, that is manageable. Okay. That's why we focus on the singular, because it makes sense to me. People give to people, they connect to people or animals, and they don't have to always be sad puppy dog eyes like this photo, right? But you want to make an emotional connection. It's easier to connect to one other person than it is to the masses. Okay. Keep it personal. I mentioned that. I've talked about stories. Make sure you have a PS, and make sure you don't use friend. And please don't use dear friends. I am one person reading whatever it is you're writing. So even if you cannot You do not have the technological capacity to insert my name and say, "Dear Janet," or "Hello, Janet," or "Hey, Janet." Call me friend, or call me friend. Don't call me friends. I don't read in plural, right? And please have a very clear call to action. Tell me what to do. You're making me feel things. Now tell me what I can do in response to those feelings. And don't be wishy-washy. Would you please maybe consider possibly while you're thinking about this year end? No, just say it outright. Will you make a gift today? Can our people count on you today? Just say it. Tell me what to do, because I act on impulse. Unless I'm giving at a very high level, individual giving is an impulse buy. It's like picking up the M&Ms or the Kit Kat bar at the grocery checkout. You grab it and you put it on the belt and you walk out with it. If I stop and read the label and get into all the details, I put it back, right? You want your appeal to be driving the impulse to give. You're making me feel something. You're making me know if I act, something good will happen. I'm going to act. Okay. There's some proven tactics, right? Use pictures and graphics, be dramatic, bold, underline, 14-point font. All of those things are important. That'll be you'll have that. Don't project your own metrics, right? That's that whole deficit fundraising thing. Just because you have an internal goal to meet your budget doesn't mean that I care, right? Fiscal year end, close of budget, all of that. And don't demonstrate your math skills. Meaning, if you tell me $25 will feed a family of 4 for a week, don't then in the next line tell me $50 will feed a family of 4 for 2 weeks. I can do that math. If you're using different numbers in a gift array, make sure they're saying very different things, okay? Because I might be drawn to one thing or another, but if I'm drawn to feeding a family of 4, I can give you $25 or I can give you $100. I don't need you to tell me that one will feed them for a week and the next one will feed them for 4 weeks. Okay. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is cause an interruption in my day. Okay. I want to know why I'm hearing from you. And I want to know that what you're sharing with me is important to me. And if I'm on your mailing list, that means I probably care about your cause already, or you wouldn't have my email, right? So whether or not I'm a donor, for some reason I've connected to you. So please bring me into your cause and tell me what I can do to help. That's what Giving Tuesday is about. That's what year-end fundraising is about. That's what all fundraising is about. And then the most critical of all is, as you're planning your year-end giving, make sure that you plan, or your year-end fundraising, make sure that you plan your follow-up. People who are thanked within 48 hours of giving a gift are 4 times more likely to give again. Make sure that you plan the thank you to happen as quickly as possible. Now, I am not the proponent of everyone needs to be working on the last days of the year. That's not necessarily true, right? People do understand that people go on vacation and things, but as quickly as possible when you return to work, you need to be thanking people. You need to be sending welcome series to new donors. You need to be calling them and asking them what motivated their gift. You need to be sure that you are reporting impact throughout the coming year so they know what their money is doing, so that you can move from transactional thank yous to relational appreciation, and you thank them when they least expect it. I expect a thank you receipt. I expect a receipt and a thank you after I make a gift, but 3 months later, if you reach out and show appreciation and tell me what happened because of my gift, I am going to feel really good. I am not going to necessarily expect it. So surprise me with your outcomes. And that is all from me. So we are open for Q&A.
Janet, thank you so much. This presentation has been absolutely wonderful. I know I've taken notes. There's been so much engagement in the chat. I would love for you right now to just post your number one learning and takeaway that you're getting from this in the chat. And we have quite a few questions already queued up here. So the first one up is from Shifra. And they say, this is my first time setting up a fundraiser for Giving Tuesday. What is the best method for accepting donations? Like what is the best website or software to use? So interested in your thoughts on that.
So if you don't have any online giving platform yet, it would be very difficult to set up the best, right? But don't let the search for perfection get in the way of progress. Hook up a PayPal at the very least, hook up a Zelle or a Cash App or whatever you need, whatever you can use. There are some free ones or from some really inexpensive ones. Donor Box is one, I shouldn't be saying that. I'm speaking on behalf of Bonterra, but you will not get set up on Bonterra before Giving Tuesday, just as a fact. So I'd say at the very least, just get some button up there that will accept funds, and then call Bonterra and get a full-blown system in place before next year.
Yeah, I agree. I put a few links in the chat while you were speaking too. So there's like the Giving Days fundraising platform. There's also a more of like the Every Action overall like fundraising tools, as well as the Network for Good guided fundraising tools. So I pasted the links in the chat. Definitely recommend everyone checks them out. So you can plan on accepting donations, not just through year end, but throughout the year. So awesome. Thank you so much. There's been a lot of great questions. I am, one of them is that we have a few first timers here. And so Donna asked, what about those who've donated previously and don't anymore? I'd like to know what messaging they might need that's different from what my monthly partners receive. It's a great question.
Oh, yeah. So you want to give them a feeling, a little bit to really simplify it, a little bit of FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, right? You want them to feel like their participation and their engagement is really, really important to you, because it is, right? Your monthly donors are giving. You want them to know they rock, right? Like, you make it all happen. You're helping us. Thank you so much. The lapsed donors, I mean, if you have the capacity to call them and ask them what happened, right? Like why you used to give. I'd love if you could give again. I'm wondering if something happened, that we may be able to repair the relationship, right? It depends on how much they gave and how long they gave and those sorts of things. But help them know that if they give, it will make a big difference. And so you want them back, you hope they'll come back.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. And this is a really great question from Alex. He said, we typically have not done a big push for Giving Tuesday because one of our biggest fundraisers of the year is December 12th through the 31st, which I think is pretty familiar with everyone. And we're afraid Giving Tuesday detracting from the bigger fundraiser or contribute to fundraising, donation fatigue amongst our donors in the community. Do you have any recommendations for navigating this?
So if the biggest fundraising push is, 12th to the 31st year end, if someone gives on Giving Tuesday, is it really detracting? It's all the same money, right? Like you're getting all the money, right? If it comes in a week earlier or a couple weeks early, right? So that's one thing to think about. The other thing is maybe your efforts for Giving Tuesday can be about donor acquisition, right? So you're asking 20 people to go ask 20 people that you don't know, that you don't have in your database, right? So there's that effort, right? That you're focusing on a different population or audience on Giving Tuesday than you might in your regular communications, which is why peer-to-peer is so important for Giving Tuesday.
Yeah. And like you said, like sometimes people will give again. So
Yes.
I think there's no downside to asking more. Like most of the time, most nonprofits I see are not asking enough.
Right. And I just recently did a talk on, busting the myth of donor fatigue. It doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Right. It's our poor communication patterns that people get tired of. But if I'm passionate about a cause, I want to hear about it. So what are you giving me?
Yeah.
So
Oh, there's so many great questions here. Emily asked, would you speak more to how to cut through the noise? All of this advice assumes people are already opening, reading, watching what we send or create. And I think that speaks to, maybe we're not having great engagement on email or social platforms or any other forms of communication. So how would you kind of boost that for year end?
yeah, so if you're not already having engagement with the community that's in your sphere already, then I would do something. I don't think that can be mended before year end,
Hmm.
right? But I would make a concerted effort in the coming year to find out why, right? Do a lot of one-on-one conversations, visits, that sort of thing. I did this once in an organization. I announced and sort of launched a listening tour, right? And said, I want to hear from you. I want to know, and I said, I'll be here and I'll be there and I'll be in this town and I'll be there. And please come. And I'd get a few people to confirm they'd be there. And then we opened it up to whoever could come. And we had some really good conversations. And I learned a lot about people's view of the organization, right? But cutting through the noise, I don't know that many people, unless they're in the nonprofit arena, who follow that many nonprofits on social media and on their email, right? I have a handful of causes I care about, right? And those are the things so I don't have that much noise to cut through. We might feel like it's a lot of noise because we're following 75 different organizations to know what everybody else is doing, right? And all the consultants and all the the platforms, the nonprofit platforms and all of this, right? But my sister, she has 3 causes. She gets emails from them. She doesn't get email from 900 people, right? So,
Yeah. And also something that you brought up earlier that I also think is practical, Emily, is like even if you have like a handful of supporters that are engaged, you can always explore doing peer-to-peer, which you could get up and running for this year end. So I always
yes.
think like start with the community you have and build it from there. Amazing. So, I know we're almost at time. I think we have time for one more question. Suzanne asked, in terms of thank yous, with giving platforms, there will be an automatic thank you and receipt. Are you suggesting that we send out a second thank you after the donation?
Absolutely, yes. Who reads their receipt? A receipt is a confirmation that my credit card was processed. I just make sure it was processed and I put it in my tax folder or whatever, right? You need a heartfelt thank you. And the thank you is future tense in that it says, thank you so much for your gift. it will now be possible to do A, B, and C. This will happen because of your gift, right? It's future looking, right? And then 4 months later, you send this is what's going on because you gave. And then 6 months, 7 months later, you send and this is all the success that happened because you gave. So you get conditional tense in the ask. If you give, this can happen. In the thank you, it's you gave, so now this will happen. Then there's a sharing impact. This is happening because you gave. And then there's reporting impact. This happened because you gave. And then you ask again, right? So the more often you do those things and the more closely together, the more often you can ask.
That's a perfect answer. Thank you so much, Janet. This has been really, really wonderful. There's so much appreciation in the chat, so many key learnings and takeaways. And so, yeah, thank you again for being here. We will get the recording out to all of you. We will also be sending you the slides so you can review all of these great insights later on. And yeah, just thankful for everyone for being here today. There's still so many of us on right to the very end. So very appreciative for all of you in this community. And thanks again, Janet.
Thank you all for taking the time to listen. I hope it was helpful.
Yeah. Do you have any last seconds things that you'd like to plug, like anything you'd like to share to connect further with anyone who may still have questions?
Feel free to find me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect there and answer questions. And then, if you want to connect via email or whatever, we can do that from LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thanks again, Janet. Have a great rest of your day.
All righty. Take care, everyone.
Have a happy Giving Tuesday, everyone. Bye.